Welcome to the Next Level Podcast. We have got an exciting episode coming at you today. We have got Mr. Noah Ray from Christian Life Church in Hoover, Alabama. We've also got product review of the day, and then, of course, the one and only Mr. Taylor Ward's going to bring you a dad joke of the day. Y'all stick around. All right, welcome back to the Next Level Podcast. I'm your host, Jared, being joined by Mr. Tay-Tay, Taylor Ward. Man, how's things been going?
Oh, it's been pretty good. I really enjoyed the Trinity job we just got off of.
Yeah,
Or, I guess we're still buttoning things up, but
yeah,
that was a good time, and we had talked about talking through some of the process once we hit COVID and going into some of the installs that we did to kind of keep us busy during that time, since all events just shut down.
yeah.
So
Yeah, it was crazy time. I mean, I think by the time our viewers watch this, I mean, we really have, for the most part, come out of COVID.
mm-hmm.
But man, it was a crazy time. Roller coaster ride. We did really what got us through was a lot of installs, and kind of what has sparked, I feel like, this whole podcast and this endeavor that we've done for a while, but we really kind of mashed the gas pedal to the floor
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to what we do in this side of the business. So throughout COVID, kind of give you a little context for the viewers. Our biggest focus was installs. A lot of churches reached out to us and wanted to upgrade their systems, and so that's what we did. So talk a little bit today about that, and we also have a special guest coming on to the show, as we always do, Mr. Noah Ray from Christian Life Church in Hoover.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually my home church. So
we did a couple installs there during
we
the
did.
COVID time.
Yeah, we've done several things even before your time. We did several upgrades throughout the year, but we did a huge install, and I think we'll kind of dive into a lot of that and what that looked like and thought processes behind that, design behind that. But we did that, upgraded the live stream, created a broadcast booth where we can be completely isolated from everything going on inside of our worship space to be able to hopefully produce week in and week out, just really good content. So, yeah.
That was a fun, and that was kind of a build off of, we created that like mobile studio for, when everyone had to pivot, the world ended. Everyone had to go to online, and y'all were already streaming, but not to the level that you are now.
Yeah.
And then it all ended, and there was no in person. No one touch anyone. No one do anything that's normal. And so we set up like a little studio, had plenty of space to spread everyone out, and were able to record, like pre-record and edit services weekly so that they were posted at a certain time. And then I think that got the gears turning.
Ooh, what are we going to do when we come back?
Yeah, because all this equipment is not ours.
Yeah, absolutely. Our give you a little insight into our business. We do the installation part of it, but for years we've done live production, and so on-site productions is our live production business, and so it was just like, you have that moment where the governor comes on the TV and they're like, "Do not leave your house." and we're like, oh, dear Lord, we still have church to do. Like, how are we going to continue to do this?
Mm-hmm.
They didn't even want you to do church.
Mm.
And so it was a very small, select number of folks, but our live streaming was one camera going to one computer, going to Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. And we really wanted people to experience our online the way they experience live,
Mm-hmm.
but unfortunately they can't come live.
Right.
So we need to bump up our online.
Mm-hmm.
And so luckily we had some equipment, bought some new equipment, and just really set up like a television studio.
Yeah. We had studio lights. We had, stage design type things, set up a backdrop.
Yeah. Yeah. And we made it work, but I don't think it was really 2 services into it. And we're all already like, okay, we have raised our bar and we can't come off of this.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of churches maybe that's watching, but I know for a fact we've worked with a lot of churches
Mm-hmm.
that they realized that during COVID. They realized that it's so vitally important that people be comfortable. And let's face it, there's a lot of people even today that are scared to death to even leave their house.
Mm-hmm.
And those people still need Jesus.
Right. Yeah.
Those people still need to hear the good word.
Mm-hmm.
And so we've been fortunate enough to have relationships and work with several pastors and media directors and people throughout, the house of worship, churches, synagogues, different religious folks that they have the desire to want to step up and just need some direction, I think, more than anything, and resources. So it's been pretty cool.
And a lot of churches, the impression that I got was that a lot of churches used the shutdown time to evaluate where they were live streaming, but also prepare for coming back.
Yeah.
Because, church is about community. If you're able to reach people at home, that's awesome. But the end goal is to build community, and, that happens in person. So every church I knew, they beefed up their live stream element to be able to reach the people, but then they also prepared for people to come back, and that's where I think a lot of our installs during that time, were motivated. Like with CLC, we installed the new stage design. You'd told me that pretty much every Easter you tried to kind of update things a little bit, but hadn't right before because that's when COVID hit. Like no one met on Easter, so like
Yeah.
it was.
That was the weirdest thing.
It was.
Like, I don't know about you and your church, but not going to church on Easter,
It just
like
you felt like a sinner.
I really did. I really and what's funny was, we really prepared something that was of a higher caliber for that week. I mean, we did a special service for Good Friday, and we did a pretty rocking, production for the Easter itself. And so it was, man, COVID has been weird, but like in the church world, it's been weirder.
Yeah.
And so it's good to come out of it. I think it really has recalibrated a lot of folks, good ways, bad ways, but I mean, I'm happy to see that, I could speak for us. We were dabbling in the whole live stream thing, and now we're like, it is one of the most important parts
looking on the positive side, like COVID forced you to reevaluate how much that could help.
Yeah.
Like, and you might not have done that without being forced to.
Yeah.
Like our church, we had a crappy little camera. We bought a new camera, and it went from like SD to HD. Like it was night and day. And we're still
What
simplistic.
what's a SD?
Yeah, I don't know. SanDisk. We're still very simplistic because we want people to be able. It's really more like a catalog
Mm-hmm.
than it is a service.
Yeah.
Our online presence, because ultimately we want people to come and be in communication and be in community with us.
Yeah.
But people go back and watch it and listen and write more notes, do things like that we weren't able to do because it wasn't a priority.
Yeah. Well, I think, speaking of the whole community thing, I think I have heard from, like, we experienced it to a degree. You mentioned it. I've heard from probably half a dozen other pastors who, I remember me and you went and met with a church in Helena, and that pastor says, I thought I'd never be on a camera. Like, we're all about community, and we don't want to be TV preachers,
Right.
And I know our church is all about community as well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we have hundreds of small groups that meet throughout the entire week, from, I mean, people that sit down and read the Bible to people that are playing basketball together and creating community that way, to different things that they enjoy doing that they want to do with other believers,
Mm-hmm.
And, you can't get that through a camera, but I feel like it's the catalyst, to trying to draw people in. And I think when you're forced to stay at home, it's all you got, and you don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. You didn't know COVID was going to show up.
Nope. Well, and people use online services as kind of like a safe blind date.
Yeah.
They'll come be able to watch the church service, get an idea so that they're not just walking in not knowing what to expect in any way.
Awkward.
Because, I mean, there's a lot of things you can see about a church and decide if it meets your values, that you can see online without having to go and, you hate to not want to meet people.
Yeah.
Because, like, that's the whole thing with community. But then you also kind of hate to waste people's time.
Yeah.
Like, we visited a church that it was still it was a larger church, so we were able to slip in and slip out and not really kind of dabble in those waters. But if we had met people, we would have felt a lot more obligated to go back, rather than just from a social perspective, rather than a belief perspective.
Yeah.
And online gives you the chance to kind of check some of those boxes, or mark things off that you don't want to be around. That's a little harsh to say, I guess, but it's a reality that you can check. And
I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's it's all in the way that you take it. I think you do have to have some sort of, how do I put this? We got to be willing to get out of our comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, like you said, I don't want to waste your time. You don't want to waste my time. So let's see what see what this is about.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we got to that place. Got to the place that we're at. I think all that was kind of based off of COVID.
Right.
But now, I mean, it's a different perspective. And I think a lot of people can really just take this opportunity, see if it's their cup of tea.
Mm-hmm.
If it is, it is. If it ain't, it ain't.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it definitely needs to nudge people in a way that, hey, I need to get involved.
Yeah.
Because that's what I think the community of church
mm-hmm.
is really about.
Right.
Because we can live in our own little bubble and have our own little sinful thoughts
mm-hmm.
and get ourselves all out of whack.
Right.
But really just kind of pushing into a community will kind of allow us to live the life God wants us to live.
Mm-hmm. And then, there's also the evangelistic side of it that you mentioned. I think you and Jeremy mentioned that there were people watching y'all Sunday services that weren't even in the United States. And so going online in a higher production value
mm-hmm.
drew eyes that you might not have drawn by just having a static plain camera. And
looking at the analytics, I mean, we if you know anything about websites and doing target marketing and things like that, there are analytics that will give you a lot of great knowledge. If somebody comes and visits your website and how they got to your website, where they're from, what their age is, what their gender is, I mean, that really plays a huge factor into knowing, okay, where do I need to put my focus and attention?
mm-hmm.
And I think that's the most fascinating thing to me is every Sunday after church, we use a service called Restream.
Mm-hmm.
And we use it for one of two reasons. First, it allows us to multicast to multiple platforms just by upstreaming one stream. The second and most fascinating part of it to me is the analytics it gives.
Mm-hmm.
It gives, how many people were watching, how long did each of those people watch, what platform were they watching through, and so it really allows us to really kind of hone in and focus and really just try to find something that's working the best and put all our time and attention to that.
Yeah.
Whether it's YouTube, Facebook, whether it's people that are watching in Hoover, Alabama or Nigeria, I mean, and it's pretty cool. I mean, it has allowed us to kind of hone in
mm-hmm.
on some things. And people ask us all the time, like when it comes to how you stream, that really is a personal preference of that church.
Mm-hmm.
But people ask us all the time, well, how do y'all do it? And, we'll tell them. And we'll tell them why.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like that's more valuable than just what we do.
Mm-hmm.
Because people can easily go to Facebook or they can just easily go to YouTube. But when you want to go to Facebook, go to YouTube, go to your website, the list goes on, there's obviously things that you need to do. And then how that's presented and the way that's presented, it is totally different really on each platform.
Mm-hmm.
There's things that you can do on your website you may not be able to do on YouTube or Facebook, so that's
right.
Kind of thought processes on.
There's a lot of people that think like that too, that me personally, if I understand why, then I can do that thing a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
So I can solve a Rubik's Cube in less than 30 seconds. But I didn't start clicking in speed until I understood why the moves I was doing what it was doing.
Mm-hmm.
What was solving, each little piece and all that.
You can do a Rubik's Cube in 30 seconds?
Mm-hmm.
How did I not know?
Next week, folks.
That's next level.
So it didn't start clicking until I started learning the logic of it.
Yeah.
And once it did, I saw my times just drop. There are people much faster than me, but I'm much faster than your average person. So
Yeah.
like that applies to so many different things that if you can figure out the why,
Mm-hmm.
then you can attack the situation a lot better.
Man, that's cool. Yeah. I mean, it's important to
It's like troubleshooting.
to know,
Mhm.
that's, the people ask me, they're like, why do you do this? Why do you do what you do? From the first business that I opened, which, a lot of that was handed down by my father, but what we do on-site production side is my brainchild.
Mhm.
It's we do it, what we do, how we do it, when we do it, is all me.
Mhm.
Um, and I tell people I would rather, have a team of people that don't know anything, and I have the opportunity to train them. On the next level side, the best part of my job is training people.
Mhm.
Because I can take a volunteer who knows nothing about sound, and I can invest in them to the level that they take their church up a notch.
Mhm.
I feel like audio visual is the wave of the future.
Mhm.
It, you know, making sure things sound good, minimize distractions,
Mhm.
looks good, minimize distractions. And the only way you're going to get that is having somebody, really passionate about that. But that's going to come with knowledge.
Yeah.
That's going to come with knowing, okay, if I do this, this is what I'm going to get.
Mhm.
And that's kind of to your point is, knowing what live streaming does and knowing how you got there.
Mhm.
Knowing, okay, I can speed up if I really know how this Rubik's Cube works. I can make sure that there's no distractions if I know how an EQ works.
Mhm.
Feedback.
Yep.
Every church in America, I know there's people watching this and they're like, yeah, we get.
Can you tell my guy?
Yeah, can you come to my church? So it's really, I can teach somebody, okay, this is a fader. The more you push it up, the more volume you're going to get. But there's a lot of things that you need to teach somebody up to the point of volume.
Mhm.
Because what is somebody going to do the second it feeds back? They're going to rip that volume down. And that's not going to fix the problem.
It's a Band-Aid because as soon as you bring it back up,
Yep.
it starts ringing again.
Yep.
Yep.
Back to the live stream, a lot of the things that we train on a pretty consistent basis, not only at my church, but, when we integrate a system is really seamless, trying to create a seamless broadcast, making sure you always have content, what you're doing next. And a lot of people, they don't think like that. They have to be trained into that.
Mhm.
And so we have, a couple of opportunities at our church that we bring people in and we let them shadow, and then eventually we'll bring them in, say like on a Wednesday night where we're just doing a prayer service. We may not even broadcast it,
Mhm.
but we'll be in there sitting in the seats, going through all the motions. We probably would record it on the computer. We used at our church Wirecast, so we have the ability to record it to disk, and then we can play it back
Mhm.
and kind of critique, things like that. We're not, we're not the people that just throw people to the wolves.
Good luck.
Yeah, here you go. But I think that's pretty important in really everything you do. But
That's a cool opportunity for your volunteers because where I worked at Shaka Springs, and in that situation, the way that our department was, I managed the AV department. By the time people came and were putting on their conference, it was go time. So you didn't have authentic settings to practice that kind of stuff. So you could kind of go through and coach a little bit, but then nothing goes to plan,
no.
in that, and come service time. So that's a really cool opportunity for the volunteers to practice in an authentic situation, not just being told, but seeing actively why they're being told what they're being told.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, man, we've got a exciting rest of the episode. We've got Noah Ray, who's going to be coming and talking with us here in the next segment. He is from CLC, Christian Life Church in Hoover, and he's been youth pastor. He's been everything.
That's what it sounds like.
And he's now the executive pastor at our church, and he's a ton of fun. So he said, hey, let me know when y'all get the podcast going. I'd love to come, and so we're gonna do that in the next episode. And of course, we've got product review, and then dad joke of the day.
I just want to build up this dad joke. It's gonna be really good. It's gonna be really good.
Really, top notch.
Set the bar high.
You've been thinking about it all week.
It's mulling over. Yeah. So,
if y'all know anything about Taylor Ward, he is the man of dad jokes. So when I knew we were going to do this podcast, I just knew there was going to be dad jokes, so that he can just hopefully get it out and leave us alone the rest of the week.
I'll get this look in my eye, and my wife will be like, "Oh my gosh! All right, go ahead." And I'll have a dad. I'll be like mulling over. I'll just like get a distant look where I'm thinking through it, and then there we go. And it happens.
You know what's funny? I can see Abigail right now rolling her eyes watching this episode.
They're gonna get stuck one day.
Probably when the baby gets here.
Yeah.
All right. Well, y'all hang tight. We're gonna get Noah in here and continue on with the show. All right. Well, welcome back to the show. Welcome back to Next Level Integrations. We have got an exciting guest on today, Mr. Noah Ray.
Yo, yo, yo.
What's going on, brother?
In the house, man.
Yeah.
Learning about Taylor's lukewarm coffee addiction.
Yeah, it's got to be gulping temperature.
Yeah, absolutely. Is it too warm? I see you got the backup right there.
Vitamin
water you get there,
is it's about right here, and this is going to go longer than how long this is going to last, so I have backup here.
So apparently you've seen Noah preach before, and you know what's coming.
That's true.
Well, Noah is from Christian Life Church in Hoover, Alabama. As I've said on previous episodes, that is my home church, and me and Noah have known each other for quite a while. And I've seen him as children's pastor, youth pastor, now executive pastor, and man, I knew from the moment this idea of the podcast ever popped in my head, I wanted to have him on the show. He has a huge perspective on, I feel like, technology and media, and really how our church has evolved over the years when it comes to what it looks like, feels like, sounds like, things like that. So welcome to the show.
Thanks, man. It's been a fun time at CLC, and I've known you guys for forever. It feels like
we've been at CLC for going on 7 years.
Yeah. So I remember the first time that Jared came into our sanctuary for the first time. That Easter, it was going into Easter weekend when we had our sound was going crazy, and I don't even know how we got your number.
So, funny story. So, I got a message on our On-Site Productions Facebook page from it was from Jeremy's account, but come to find out it was Meg.
It was Meg. Yeah, I remember that.
At 3 a.m. in the morning, and all it said was, "Do you help with sound?"
Help, please.
And
911.
And so, I messaged her back, or messaged Jeremy's account back. I said, "Yes, we do. How can we help? Here's our telephone number." And so I'm walking into our distribution house, going to do an install that day. And so the whole time I'm thinking, they're wanting us to upgrade their sound system. Little did I know, they were just in desperate need of a sound guy.
That was it.
And so they, CLC, a former staff member had took his calling as a worship leader. And it happened to be the week before Easter, and they're kind of freaking out. So I literally walked into CLC and met Pastor Jeremy, then met Pastor Meg, and then met Noah. And man, I went home that day, and I was like, Samantha's my wife. So Samantha, I think this is the church we need to be at. And her response was like, "Oh, okay, we'll give it a shot." And
I can hear Sam saying that too.
And the look on her face was like, "I'll be the judge of that."
Yeah.
And but everything's kind of been history from there.
Okay, buddy.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then me and Sam go way back to our church days, and the more we talked, the more we found out that all of our circles collide and all the above. So
yeah.
And then I've known Taylor for
About
several
a year.
years now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, at least 2 years.
Yeah.
2-3 years.
So I started with On-Site in March of 2020. Actually, it's only
Really?
been like a year and a half. Yeah.
Look at that.
But
I thought it would have been at least 3 years.
But don't I make it feel so much longer?
It does.
Yeah.
But coming from the same stomping grounds,
That's
Yeah.
true.
over in the Trust Vegas area, and
That's it.
Yeah.
so, well, tell me a little bit about kind of your backstory. I know, just kind of start the conversation. I know your dad was a pastor.
Yep. Mhm.
And everything kind of lead into how you got to CLC.
Yeah. So, long story short. So, my dad, they've been in ministry, him and my parents, for 30 years. And they pastored a church in Springville area, planted it. And they've been in ministry for, a while, and just have a great legacy there. And my wife went to Pastor Jeremy, who is our lead pastor, my wife went to his dad's church growing up. So that's kind of how the connection was somewhat made. One of my really good friends, before I was on staff at CLC, one of my really good friends was a youth pastor. And so he invited me in to speak. And so I spoke that night, and we just kind of felt this kind of connection. We were actually living, me and my wife, we were living up in UNA in Florence, Alabama at the time. And so we came down to speak. We were trying to get to Birmingham. That's ultimately where we wanted to be. That's where we're from. And so long story short, I came down to speak for Adam that night. And when we went back to Florence, God opened up a door for us to come back to Birmingham. And when we came back to Birmingham, we actually made CLC our home church. And that was October of 2012, and Pastor Jeremy had just taken over in May of 2012. And so I came on staff of the church in March of the next year. And so when I first came on staff, I did everything. I mean, it was me, Pastor Jeremy, and one other guy. I mean,
You were on the hay team.
I mean, I was everything. I was kids pastor, I was media, I was janitor, I was bus driver, I was janitorial cleanup. I was, just a little bit of everything. And but my main responsibility was kids ministry, and I did our media at the time, which was very limited, very limited. And so from there, kind of kept my hands in the media aspect of everything, and ultimately kind of overtook student ministry. And so that was kids ministry all the way up to student ministry. And so oversaw that, kind of passed off the media ministry to what is now our Pastor Meg, who oversees worship and media and all of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And now I've been almost 3 years into the role of executive pastor. So overseeing weekends, day-to-day operations, our staff, major events, all the above. So,
man, that's awesome.
Yep.
Well, I know, and I'll let you talk about it a little bit more in detail, but I know our church, when those days of I did everything to what it is now it has grown substantially.
Yeah.
I remember me and a guy that I worked with in broadcast this past Sunday, Jeff Stevenson. It was just me and him.
Yeah.
I ran sound. He ran lights and our lyrics.
Mm-hmm.
We used Pro Presenter. So it was just a 2-man crew back there. And now we're pretty fortunate. We have anywhere from, 7 to 10 people on our team on a Sunday morning. Talk a little bit about, how things have evolved over the years.
Mm-hmm.
You've seen it. You've been a part of it. You may not have your daily hand in it,
right? Yeah,
but I feel like a lot of your vision comes out
mm-hmm.
in what we do on Sunday morning. So talk about.
Yeah, I remember the early days when it was just us. When it was just you back there and maybe one other person, and from there it is it's evolved, like you said, to now you've got several people in our broadcast booth to our media room, and I think it's just kind of been just being faithful with where we are and what we've had, and trying to do the best. I think that excellence is not necessarily about money, and it's not necessarily about the dollar figures that you have. It's about doing the best with what you have that's right there in front of you. So I think that in every season, when it was, I remember when we were taking bulbs from different projectors and mixing them in with this bulb to make that projector work, and adding. Y'all, I remember when I wasn't even on staff yet, and Pastor Jeremy, he called me. He said, "Hey man," he said, "I think we need 4 par cans. Like, I think we just need to add some light to the stage." And I was working another job, and he called me. He said, "Hey, just meet me at Bailey Brothers." And so I went and met him at Bailey Brothers, and we went and bought like the OG, the original par cans that, like, I don't even know how to, there's like old, like the the big ones. Yes.
I think we have those in a closet
We
still.
probably do.
Up in the youth room.
We probably do. They're somewhere. I promise you.
We might have some on a shelf somewhere.
And I remember buying those, and I remember when we bought those, like it was a big deal. Like I remember Pastor J. I could see the stress on his face when he swiped that credit card to buy those 4 par cans.
No, you can buy those for like $15.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can sell them for free.
Yeah.
But I remember, and I'm so thankful for those times when we didn't have really anything at all. When it was just kind of the bare bones. And I think to kind of get to where, we are now, and not that it's by any means the creme de la creme, but I do think we just try to be faithful with everything that we've had. And the being faithful has just allowed God to be able to give us more. So
yeah, absolutely. Well, I always like to bring up the whole topic of taking a church to areas that they've not been used to. And I think one of the biggest things for us visually was when we started, changing over from the Parcan days
Yep.
to like LED lights, even going as far as like movers and having a
Oh, yeah.
smoke machine
Yep.
and things like that.
Yep.
And that was, big,
Absolutely.
huge steps for us.
Yep.
But what do you feel, took us to that place? How does that connection work within the church, and how do you feel that is good for us and our congregation?
Well, I remember, like I said, I remember the days when we didn't have anything, and it was a slow fade for us. It wasn't like it was just a flip of the switch and we had all of that stuff. We've kind of been in the mindset of we just kind of slowly add those things. And some people, they can just flip the switch and that's awesome. We just kind of made the decision when we didn't have much that now we have we got the movers and the fog and the nice project, all of that stuff, the cameras. We kind of made those moves just kind of one after another. And it was more of a slow fade than we're going to turn the ship around really, really fast.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, we definitely didn't, which I'm not a part of the financial decisions at our church, but, as a business owner, I can only imagine. I mean, we didn't really drop money on, a big, huge renovation or a big, huge, upgrade of equipment. It's always been, well, let's get 2 movers.
Yeah.
Let's try that out.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's get a haze machine. Let's add to it. And usually, I mean, you could probably attest to this. It all revolves around, Christmas and Easter.
Oh yeah, it does. Yeah, if you're gonna try anything new, try it then.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're gonna bring any pizzazz in, you do it in Christmas, do it in Easter.
Then, because if it doesn't work, you can say, that was just Christmas.
It was just a part of the day.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we've done that before. Trust me. Like, oh, that's gone.
Yeah. I remember this past Easter, we had a package of 6 movers that we had installed permanently up in the ceiling, and then brought in a few more to put down on the floor right behind the band, and it made a huge difference. And when I thought, oh, we're just going to bring these in rent them, bring them in temporarily, it went over so well that it was like, can we keep them?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, and I think too, one of the things that we've talked about, just kind of leadership wise behind the scenes, is just kind of the law of process and processing our people through the changes that we felt like we needed to make when it came to AVL. So like when it comes to lights, we knew ultimately we wanted to be on probably what I would call the more attractional side, where you've got, just more of the movers, some hay, what I'm saying, kind of talking techie stuff on that side. But we weren't going to do that overnight. It was going to be just a slow kind of transition, process our people through it, using some of the big days like Christmas, like Easter. We've even done stuff for Mother's Day, kind of bringing in some special type items and kind of getting them conditioned to that stuff. Because if you're not careful, if you go from nothing to now we got a lot, the people who like the nothing, they're not used to, a whole lot of stuff. And so you just gotta, it's all about balance, and it's all about finding the right rhythm and the flow, and, not doing too much.
And there's a learning curve with that too, because if you change one little thing, you just have to hone that little thing. But if you change everything at once, then you have to learn everything at once and be ready by Sunday.
And that first Sunday is a train wreck.
Train wreck.
Yes.
Well, too, and you've got, you got to think of not just the AVL, but you got to think of the people side. And that's what me and Jared work so much with is the people side of everything and training them up. And you can have all the bells and whistles, but if you don't have the right team to be able to pull it off, it's not worth anything.
Yeah.
I mean, you just got some fancy stuff up in the ceiling.
Yeah.
So,
well, talk a little bit. You mentioned it, and I had it in the back of my head to really kind of hone in on this. But talk about the difference between the attraction that you had mentioned, the attraction process of, putting things out there that really make it attractive to what I feel like is probably the next generation versus there's a lot of people that are probably watching this that says, well, you can get showy.
You can, yeah.
Talk about y'all's approach to that,
Yeah.
making sure that it's not too much,
Yeah.
not too little,
Yeah.
and it's really kind of what our purpose is.
Yeah. So one of the things that we've kind of tried to talk to our team about is being able to use AVL to accentuate but not distract. You know, so there's, I think, and that line is really fine, honestly.
Yeah.
So ultimately the goal is we want to use the cameras, the projector, the lights, fog, all of that to really just be able to create an atmosphere that kind of lets people's guard down, you know, that it's nice, it's clean, it's excellent, but it's not like, you know, we're not doing this the whole time of staring at lights and, you know, watching them all over the place. So we want it to be excellent, but we don't want anything to be overly distracting as well.
Yeah.
And so we're trying to constantly find that line. And if we think that there are things that are getting distracting, then we kind of start to dial that back.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, there was a few weeks ago where Pastor Jeremy came to me and he said, hey, man, I like the haze, but there's certain points in our service when the haze is just too much. And it was. Like, he got up on stage at one point and I could barely see him. And I was 3 feet away. You know, so it's at that point it's time to dial it back.
Yeah, let's hit the off button.
Yeah, let's hit the off button. And so we had to put some systems in play where our team knows how long to run it, how long not to. And so there's that line of we want it to look good, we want it to accentuate, but we don't want to distract by any means, because ultimately people aren't coming in to look at the lights, they're coming in to connect with God, you know, and have that moment there with him. But we do think that all of that stuff helps to create a moment, you know, that can bring excellence and just kind of put people's guards down. So,
yeah,
if that answers the question.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I know that, you know, we do have a process at CLC that we get a sheet both for the media booth, broadcast, worship team, you know, that's, you know, ask questions like, you know, what went right, what went wrong, you know, what is something that we're doing that you feel like, you know, in each leader of those teams, it's vital every single week that we fill that out and we communicate to people like you, Pastor Meg, Pastor Jeremy, on things that we feel like are important, we feel like are distracting, you know, and it's funny because I see a lot of things from two different lenses. You know, you see the things from a live perspective, but then you see something completely different from an online perspective.
Oh, 100%.
You know, talk about, you know, how we kind of evolved into the online thing and how that whole, I feel like it's a ministry.
Oh,
you know, within itself.
Yeah.
How that has kind of come about for CLC.
Let me do this for what you just said just a second ago of we have the sheet where people can kind of fill out what was good, what was bad, what was wrong. I do think it's important for people who are in positions of leadership when it comes to lighting AVL in their church to be able to listen to the people who are in the trenches. You know, like our dream teamers who are running all of that stuff, because ultimately they're the ones who are making they're the ones that's making it all happen. And so their input is so valuable in all of that stuff. So it just made me think about that.
Yeah. I mean, I think it makes us, because for me, you know, I was very involved through COVID.
Yeah.
Very involved. Now that, you know, next level on site and our business has really kind of ramped back up as the shutdown has gone away and we've opened back up, you know, we still want to feel involved, and just having somebody ask my opinion is huge.
Yeah. And
I can speak for multiple people. You know, I may be in the broadcast booth one Sunday and I let somebody else fill it out.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah.
Because I think it's important for people to say, you know what, the lights went too low
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
became distracting for the broadcast.
Yeah.
Well, that may have looked good in person.
Yeah.
So where can we find that balance?
Yeah.
So
I think it's so important.
yeah, absolutely. So the podcast, or not the podcast, but the live streaming
Mm-hmm.
for us, man, we hit the gas pedal when shutdown hit.
It's been a game changer.
And we weren't doing very much
No, we weren't.
in that arena before the pandemic. So
Yeah, we weren't, and I'll just say this: I think if it weren't for on-site, especially through the last 7 years, has helped us exponent. Our church would not be where it is without on-site. Period. But especially through COVID, you guys were just phenomenal at just saying, "Here's our stuff. Let us help. Let's make it happen." Because everything's shut down, and so we had a digital presence, but it wasn't great. Like, let's just be honest. It was,
we were on Facebook, and that was it.
Yeah. And I think we had at that point, like, what, a 2-camera shot, 1-camera shot, something like that.
Depends on if the volunteers showed up.
That's true. That's very true.
We did it. We had a 2-camera shot. But the person that was running the broadcast, controlling the switcher, was also controlling camera 1.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had occasionally some volunteers show up to help out on a second camera. But that has drastically changed, and really, I feel like has gone from a very amateur to
it looks
to a phenomenal broadcast.
Yeah, it looks very good now, and that was, so we were already kind of processing what do we do when it comes to online, and now, so I read a statistic and I took it to Pastor Jeremy and I said, "Man, we got to figure this out." And the statistic was this: is that a first time guest will visit your church virtually, and virtually would be your Facebook, your website, Instagram, whatever your online expressions are.
Mm-hmm.
They'll visit it 9 times before they step on your campus for the first time.
Yep.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
So they're checking us out through Facebook, Instagram, all of that 9 times before and that, I think that's probably shot up even more now because our online is churches online is so much stronger now. So I took that to him and I said, "Man," like, we got to get the ball rolling. And this was pre-COVID. And then, of course, everything happens with COVID, March 15th, whatever, it shuts down. And we got with Jared and said, we've been processing it. It's done, time to process. We gotta move on this now.
Yeah.
And so that's when we installed PTZs in our church, and those have just been phenomenal. The clarity of them looks so good. What the team can do with them, how they control them, just all of it. It's been great. And we have found that coming out of COVID now is the guests that we're seeing in our church. People are coming up, and it's really weird because I've never seen them a day before in my life, and they already know my name.
Yeah.
Like, they're like, "Hey, Pastor Noah." I'm like, I don't know you, but
bud.
hey, how are you? Yeah, hey, man, how are you?
Just fake it till you make
That's
it.
it. And they're finding us because they've been watching for weeks on end, watching us and joining with us online through Facebook, YouTube, our website. And so they're watching us, and then they're coming in person, and they already feel like they're a part of the family because our online experience is so great. So,
well, I know we talked in our previous episode with Nash, about live streaming and some of the platforms that we've, used. Restream is one of the platforms we use. And, I love how we can look at like analytics and things like that.
Yeah.
Now that we're kind of full bore on doing live stream, and we feel like we're kind of settled into a really good pocket of being able to produce week in, week out, put out good content and things like that. What is it that y'all are looking at in ways to improve our visual
Yeah.
visualization to the people that are coming to us. I
Mhm.
know Restream does a lot of analytics and things like that.
Yeah.
We use some services that really help out in that area. I know
Mhm.
our Instagram is phenomenal
Yeah.
in what we're producing
Mhm.
based upon previous weeks. Talk a little bit about those avenues,
Yeah.
and what that kind of looks like.
Yeah, you talking about the digital side of
Yeah,
everything?
just our digital footprint
Yeah.
and what some of the things that we use.
Yeah, I think right now social media is huge. I think that that really has to be nailed for churches right now, and I think that that's really twofold. I think it's Facebook, and I think that's Instagram right
Yep.
now for churches. And I think just as much attention as you can dedicate to that, our philosophy is we want to be on there because people are on there. I mean, that's where people are at. People are scrolling. People are, I mean, that's where their world. They're on their phones all the time. So we want to be a part of that. We want to reach them. So I think churches need to have a good social media presence. I think the website needs to be pretty good. It doesn't have to be top tier church level, but it just needs to be very functional. I guess you don't have to spend thousands and thousands of dollars on a website, but it does need to be at the place where people can find you, people can get good information. If you want to be able to stream on their messages, podcast, all of that different content.
Yeah.
And if you're listening, our website is clcbham.com if you want to go check out our website.
I think our website is pretty cool because our website is not one of those. I look at a lot of websites and you go to it once and you never have to go to it again.
Mm-hmm.
Our website, for CLC, is just a place that you can go weekly.
Yeah. And we try as best we can to be able to create a dynamic website that's constantly, like you're saying, our upcoming events are there. Our next events. Like right now, we've got still have some small group stuff, but right now we're pushing Kids Week, which is our kids conference coming up, and so we've got all of that on there where people can sign up, and I think that's a huge part of it. Not just letting it be static to where it's got information, although you need information. Letting it be a place where people can go. It's active, So 3 times out of the year, that's where we're pushing all of our small group signups is on our website. So pre-COVID, we were really heavy on like paper signups when it came to like kids, volunteers, or when it came to small groups, and we were trying to do away with that already, and now we've completely done away with that, and now we're pushing everybody to our website. So
here's the $1 million question: who handles social media and the website for CLC?
So it is a combination. So Carly Maddox, she's our communications director at the church. So she handles all of our social media, all of our church-wide emails, all of that. And then Pastor Meg really handles the website side of all of that. So we actually we use a company called Vibrant Agency, and they're the ones who have built our website. We actually have like a media package with them. So they built our website. They manage it, but we still have back. What am I looking for?
Back end,
like access,
admin.
So we can put in all of our events that are coming up, all of that. So they built it for us. They also do some of our graphics and then some of our videos, kind of like on demand type stuff.
Yeah.
So they do that, but Meg is really kind of the point person for that. Pastor Meg is
Gotcha.
on all of that.
That's kind of her vision.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but communication, most of that flows from Carly, and so she does social media, some of our website, emails, and then she also does all of our marketing as well, our church marketing. So that's something over the last year we could do a whole nother podcast on all that. Because I really
we might do it
because I really enjoy the marketing side of it, of just what we're putting into Facebook marketing, Instagram marketing, all of that, and seeing a lot of fruit from it too. By the way.
Awesome. Well, here's a pretty loaded question.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you feel like the church is going when it comes to AVL?
Mhm. I don't feel like the online presence is going to slow down at all. I think I think that is I think that's the future. The in person will never ever go away. Like that's I think that that's biblical. There's got to be a gathering. There's got to be a connection point with believers, right? So the in person is always going to be there. But I also don't think that the online presence, because I mean, if you just look at our culture and where it's at, I mean, online and everything digital is going through the roof,
Mhm.
right? I mean, you have access on your phone to everything,
Yeah.
right? So online AVL, it's more needed now than it ever has been. And so I would tell churches wherever you're at on the spectrum, if you're on the top end and you're doing really well, keep the gas down. Like just keep going, keep pushing, keep improving, keep making small tweaks. And if you're on the other end where you don't have a whole lot, just start making some of the small tweaks that you can to get the ball rolling. And again, it doesn't have to excellence doesn't mean you have to be all the way down here on the very end. It just means you got to start with what you got and just build to get an online presence there, because it is so valuable right now.
And I think me and Taylor have talked about this on numerous occasions. There is such a wide spectrum of churches, congregation sizes, budgets, staff. There's a lot of churches that are probably watching this that, are bivocational. There's not anybody in an office
Yep.
full time, and they're like, this sounds great,
Yeah.
but I can't afford this.
Easy for you to say.
But
Yeah.
there's people that appreciate coming to that church and appreciate seeing their money go to things that
Mhm.
interest them.
Yeah.
And it may be, that money's going to missions.
Yeah.
It may be that money is going to outreach. It may be that money is going to a new sound system.
Mhm. Yeah.
But I think they really understand, okay, we're a smaller church.
Yeah.
We always have been. We get a few new members here and there,
Mhm. Yeah.
and we're slowly chipping away at it.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's other churches that, like you said, there's some churches that are mega churches.
Right. Yeah.
That,
Yeah.
if they wanted to rip everything out and start over,
Yeah.
they have the funds to do
They
that.
could do it. Yeah.
Versus churches that can barely put toilet paper in the
Yep.
bathrooms.
Yep. And I think that that's the church that I love connecting with is the church that is just getting started, because that's where we were. I mean, we had nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, we had a shell of a building, and we had a lot of antiquated equipment. I mean, you remember?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, everything was outdated, and we still value every dollar and every penny. But I remember, again, the days of when we went and bought a couple speakers and a couple mics, and it was as if we had spent $1.5 million. And so that's why I'm a huge champion for the guys who are just getting started and really just, putting their best foot forward to make it happen, and just doing the best with what they have. So
Absolutely. Well, I think that's a lot of what Next Level is kind of all about. I personally, and I think Taylor can attest to this, I love the smaller churches that call us and they're like, listen, I can only put in one wireless microphone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's all I got the money for.
Yep.
But off that one little bitty purchase,
Mm-hmm.
it builds a relationship that lasts a lifetime.
Yep.
And we're able to see them go from one microphone
Mm-hmm.
to the next microphone
Yep.
to a new soundboard, and it's phased out over many years.
Yeah.
But you've seen them grow to be something, and a lot of times those guys, they don't know.
Right.
They don't they really trust you.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're about relationships, and we're about being able to kind of, build with them.
Yeah.
Over the years. And so I think it's pretty exciting.
Well, and that's our story at CLC. When you came in again, we didn't have a ton, and it's just been a friendship, it's been a partnership, but it's just been a journey of us, what the road that we've been on, and it's been fun. And again, I can't brag on you guys enough. Our church would not be where it is without on-site, and just the professionalism, the knowledge, what you guys bring to the table. I think it's phenomenal, and it's what churches need for today. It's definitely hitting a need. So
yeah. Well, I've been around. Me and Samantha have been around for a long time. We've been able to integrate on-site, next level integrations into CLC on a daily basis. Taylor, he does a lot of videography work for us here, and has been able to use his talent to be able to. We do a lot of weekly video announcements.
Absolutely.
And so that's been a huge asset, and we're training up the next generation.
Yeah.
We've actually hired on some folks. Carly, like you mentioned, she handles a lot of the media aspect of the church, and we've got some other people coming on board that are really doing that, and hopefully we can kind of continue on and continue to chip away at it. So.
Absolutely.
Well, man, thank you so much for
It's been fun
coming on. I mean, it's just our second episode, but we've already cracked a ton in the way of AVL stuff and getting different perspectives, having worship leaders and pastors. I'm pretty excited that our next episode is going to be a gentleman from SoundPro. He's the CEO of SoundPro, soundpro.com. Joshua has, we've kind of gotten to know him over the years, order some products through him, and him along with Sean Tallard, who is our sales rep for SoundPro. And I just feel like those guys will bring that well-rounded perspective of church AVL, that not only the guys that make the decision on what to do, but also the people that are in the industry selling it and kind of keeping us abreast of, what's coming down the pipe. So,
and AVL is huge.
Yeah.
So important.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
if I could, I'm sorry.
No, good.
No, I agree with everything you said, and I thought you brought up a lot of good perspectives here. If I could just give like a little bit of advice for those times when it is raining cats and dogs, that would be just be careful not to step in a poodle.
A what? A poodle?
Oh, Lord.
A poodle?
He's full of dad jokes. He's full of dad jokes.
You got any more in there? Tell me.
Come on.
Give me
one more.
One more? Let's see.
Because I didn't know where that was going.
you
I do now.
I set it up. I set it up real well.
The good thing is we can edit this out if we we need to.
I can cut it. I just want to go on record. I support farming. I'm a big farming guy.
Yeah.
I love everything farmers do. You could say I'm protractor.
That's good.
All right, folks.
Oh man.
Well, hey, coming up we got our product review, and then of course we may end it on another dad joke.
Who knows?
All right,
if you're lucky.
Y'all stick around. All right, welcome back to the Next Level Podcast. Now we have got our product review with Mr. Taylor.
Hey, everybody. So last week we had the Magna Spot. This is another product from the same company called the Magna Pull. I think this is probably its flagship product, but essentially you have this this piece here that has a magnetic end. You saw me have to peel that away. And you can run this down through the wall. You can connect your cable or pull line or whatever here, tape it down. Then you grab the roller.
Whoa!
And it'll hold it through the wall. Probably, I bet you could hold it through a 2x4 just based on how strong this thing is.
Mm-hmm.
And run it down the wall. So I'm gonna give you a little example on the table here.
So that's called the magnet.
The magnet, okay.
And then the other part's called the retriever.
The retriever, okay. So you can see it just slipped right on there. You run it down the wall, you're able to pull it. Boom. Pull it out of the thing, pull it out of the hole, your cavity, whatever.
Yeah.
You can go from there.
Okay.
So it's really handy for pulling cables.
Yeah.
You could probably get something you lost if it's metal.
Yeah. So it will do hollow wall drops. It will do insulated wall drops. It will do what's called jack chain. This is, jack chain.
Just tell a little bit about that.
And so installer drops in a hole that's large enough to accommodate the desired jack chain size, and which it comes with its own number 16 jack chain. All right. And basically it just allows you to pull heavier, do heavier pulls, where you can kind of drop this down in a small space and then be able to tie off to it to be able to pull. So especially if you got like something, a smaller space than what the actual magnet can fit through.
That sucker's strong.
The cool thing is, and we've never tried this, but you can run it under carpet.
Oh.
Like pull back you a little piece of carpet and get it underneath it and just take the retriever.
How about that?
Across the carpet.
Hey,
so
use that next week when we're setting up for that streaming gig.
That's right. So anyway, the MagnaPool XP.
I just think that's so cool.
Yeah. So we got MagnaPool. I've got training videos. Register your product online. MagnaPool.com.
If you're interested, they list the patent numbers. I won't go into that because there's like 7 of them there, and we haven't looked them up. I don't think it would be productive, but if you're interested in that, it's there for you.
Yeah, maybe we'll just have a patent number episode.
Yeah, we'll read all the patent numbers for everything we use.
No, we will not. All right. Well,
Jared,
that was a pretty epic episode.
It was
epic.
I'm having a little trouble at home.
Wow.
Abigail's mad at me.
We need a couch session right now.
We might like if we could just settle in. I don't have the best sense of direction.
I can't take you serious.
I don't have the best sense of direction, and so the other night things just came to a head, and old arguments came up. Everything just built up. And Jared, I packed my stuff up and right. I would have left, but I have a bad sense of direction, so. There it is, folks.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, gosh. How can I even...
That's what we're here for.
They get better and better. Oh, goodness. Well, hey, that's our episode, Next Level Podcast. If you need any more information, visit nextlevelavl.com. Special thanks to Jared and Wyatt back there helping us produce the show. Until next time, I'm Jared.
Taylor.
See ya.